Hi, Scorpio Sun and Rising. Welcome to your March 2023 Astral Update. It's Rena here. Well, March is the month that you probably have heard some buzz about, and it came on my radar sometime last year when I'm sure it was when I was doing a personal reading and was going into 2023. I'm not one of those people that looks at an ephemeris from 3 years from now to determine something. I just don't believe in getting too attached to the future, just like you don't want to get attached to the past. I also look at it as a pleasant surprise, so I try not to look much farther than a year in advance. And I knew that Saturn and Pluto were changing signs. And I was like, whoa, this is phenomenal. And also, Mars is changing signs. Even though Mars is a personal planet and the other two are not, uh, Mars had been retrograde, so it really is taking a long time to get up to speed. But now that we are talking about March, it's not only going to come out of its shadow, but then it's going to leave the sign of Gemini where it will have been for over 7 months. And that is really unusual for Mars. So that's significant too. But I want to start from the beginning. Obviously, when we start the month of March, the sun is in Pisces, which is a fellow water sign to you, Scorpio. And you actually have with the Scorpio energy, you have I mean with the Scorpio, with the Pisces energy, this is impacting your fifth house, which is such a fun area. This is the house of love and creativity. It's pastimes, in other words, uh, things that people like to do on their time off, hobbies, entertainment, that kind of thing. And so when the sun is there, the sun rules the fifth house in astrology. So the sun is in its own domain. And the reason that it probably likes to be there is because of that creative angle. The children are also the fifth house, so that could be a theme for you in March. But on the second of the month, Mercury goes here. And Mercury in the fifth house can be speaking to somebody that maybe you are crushing on. You're just kind of in the talking stage of things. And by the way, in February, and I'm actually recording this right before the new moon in Pisces on the 20th. If you're listening before then or shortly afterwards, just to let you know, that new moon in Pisces is hitting your fifth house of love and creativity. So that could be some kind of a catalyst for some sort of person that you are interested in to come into the picture, and you're talking to this person. Maybe you're writing a play or some poems, or you're thinking up business ideas. The fifth house can be the business that you own. On the 7th of the month, we have a full moon at 16 degrees of Virgo. And on the same day, Saturn goes into Pisces, the opposite sign of Virgo, which is really wild because the sun opposes the moon at the time of a full moon. So the sun and Saturn are both in that house, which just so happens to be the fifth house. And by the way, I do have a special video just for the transits of Saturn and Saturn and Pluto into their new signs. And so I'm going to link that below. At some point, you might be listening to this before I link it. You can always just check my channel for that video. It's, more of an audio like this one. And I will just say very briefly about Saturn here is that I think you're going to be, if you're single, you're going to be much more serious about love. I think Scorpios, though, tend to be very serious. You take love seriously. You're not playing around, when you're dealing with someone. And this is why you should really um, keep that in mind when you're talking to someone, is asking yourself, can I truly see myself with this person? Because you tend to get quite serious with people. But this just adds that element of, being even more serious, because the fifth house can be casual dating, can be casual sex, and that's not really Scorpio's jam, is casual sex. Scorpio is known for being sexy, for being associated with sex, but somebody pointed out to me, the eighth house of Scorpio rules. They said it's sex magic. And yeah, it depends on what you think the word magic means. If you use sex as a means to transform yourself, then it's probably tantric yoga that they are alluding to. And I don't know much about it. I just know that it is a path, a spiritual path to some people. So I'm not going to get too much into the Saturn in the fifth house. Another possibility is that some Scorpio people will take their art seriously, their creativity seriously. Maybe they even think that they could sell their paintings or become a professional musician. And so that, when people take their talent seriously and they don't just kind of make it out that they're not really, who are they to come up with these grandiose ideas, and they really take themselves seriously, I think that unlocks something and unleashes something, and the person can really, um, you know, become successful because they're coming from a place of truly believing in themselves. And this does not happen a lot of times. A lot of times people are, more inclined to talk themselves out of something. So, yeah. On the 16th, oh, well, let me say the full moon in Virgo. So that's going to be in the opposite sign in the opposite house. That is going to be your 11th house of hopes and wishes. Full moon here could bring that something to fruition, some kind of hope or wish that you've had. And this is also the house of gains. So, in terms of financial gain from career, this could be happening. Maybe it's finally reaching critical mass. And if you implemented something new and now you're getting those rewards from it, um, or like a promotion. If you have a friendship, you may hear from hear about a friend, news about a friend, or you could be ending a relationship with a friend. And sometimes, people hear things like that, and I think it makes them uncomfortable because they think that that's bad news, and it's not bad news because um, you may be in a different space now, and you can let go of that relationship in love, and it doesn't have to be some kind of drama. So, anyway, but you could see some, one of your dreams come true too. On the 16th, Venus goes into Taurus, your opposite sign. And so that's in the seventh house of committed partnership. Now, remember, though, that you have Uranus transiting this house. So, well, one thing maybe it is a if you have met somebody who is an Aquarian, and maybe it's taken a long time to get to that level where you feel this sense of romantic. Whoa, my laptop fell over. But if you feel this sense of romantic, um, an affinity with this person, this might be something that makes you want to commit to that person. So remember, we have these things going concurrently here because you also have Neptune in the fifth house. And this has been here for the last 10 years or so. So Saturn is joining Neptune. And Neptune in the fifth can sometimes bring shady characters into your life in some way, or somebody who's addicted, somebody who is deceitful, deceptive, whatever you want to call it, and or a Pisces, because Neptune rules Pisces. But you know that kind of person may or may not be the kind of person that you can see yourself with for the rest of your life. But with Uranus in the seventh house, you have to be more open-ended because Uranus loves freedom and it also loves nonconformity. So if you have a tendency to be very like traditional about how you approach relationships, maybe you have been married before, but you think that you have to get married again. These kinds of things are preconceived notions. They're not necessarily anything that is um, true for you at this time. You will often see people who get married once and then they vow that they're never going to get married again. They might live with someone, they might just, you know, enjoy time, spend time with somebody, but not have a full time live in relationship. And they have already been there and done that. So that's why they're not doing it again. But there are people who do marry more than once, maybe even more than twice sometimes, because that's just the way that they are wired, that they want to have that kind of thing. I'm just saying that's the kind of person I could see you being, Scorpio, is being like pretty traditional about marriage and things like that. But with Uranus transiting the seventh, this can make you in a frame of mind that probably wants freedom more than anything. So I guess the upshot is be very aware of how your tendencies may make you override what your instincts are telling you to do. So in other words, if Venus is in that seventh house and you are like really feeling like you should commit to someone, but you also feel maybe from that Uranian energy, I'm enjoying just kind of being free, not having to answer to someone. Don't allow that side of yourself to get drowned out by your conditioned response, in other words. So, for some people, Venus in the seventh could be that you are um, actually committing to someone. And this is the same day that Mars comes out of its shadow in Gemini. And Gemini, for you, is the eighth house. And this is your house, Scorpio. So Mars in the eighth house really is kind of lighting a fire under you when it comes to matters of metaphysics and the occult. You may feel a sense of urgency for some reason in this subject area. Whether it's like you watched YouTube videos for tarot readings and you're like, I want to become a tarot reader. And you're just like so hooked into it. You know what I mean? Um, You know how you do, Scorpio. And so Mars, when it's coming out of its shadow, it's like full steam ahead because it doesn't have any of that retrograde kind of like weakness, if you will, to hold it back because it's coming up to the same degree as it was when it retrograded and going beyond after this date of the 16th. And on the 19th, Mercury goes into Aries. And so now we're talking about a very practical area, the sixth house, which has to do with your work and, like your workplace, like your work environment, the type of work that you're doing, employment in general. So Mercury could be like you're talking to a potential employer, you are negotiating with your business or, with your place of employment, about something, going back and forth, waiting to hear a message about whether you've gotten a job or you do hear a message. The sixth house is also health. So this can be when people are, Mercury rules the sixth house because this is Virgo's domain. You could be reading about some kind of health matters that you're trying to get going for yourself. Like maybe you want to have a new diet or something. And Mercury rules is about diets too. So maybe you're reading books on it and things of that nature. The very next day, the sun goes here. This is the astrological new year. And this is like for the collective, this is kind of like a new cycle that's beginning. And the day after that, on the 21st, we have a new moon at 0 degrees of Aries. So it doesn't get much fresher energy than that. And this is in this work sector for you. So this is very emphasized in your life right now, Scorpio. And next month, you're going to have a solar eclipse here at 29 degrees, almost 0 degrees of Taurus in the same sector. So be on the lookout for that. So and actually the green light portal, or the dates when there are no retrograde planets, goes until April 21st, when we have another Mercury retrograde. But until then, the eclipse that I was just talking about, for some people it's going to be on April 19th and others will be on the 20th. So that'll be right before the retrograde begins in this house of work. So set intentions about what kind of work situation that you're looking for. If you're not happy with your current setup, or if you're looking for work in general, don't just be looking for work. Think about what it is that would be the ideal job for you, because then your vibe is getting more like, hey, I deserve this. It's not just like, oh my God, I need a job, that kind of thing. So make it more like you're ordering a job from a catalog, and you're looking for this job that really suits you. And then on the 23rd, we have that transit of Pluto going into Aquarius. So that's pretty amazing as well. And this is going to be your fourth house of home and family, where this is going into. It's only going up to 0 degrees this year. So I feel like for Scorpios, 2024 is more the year when you're going to start to experience this in a more overt kind of a way, and even beyond that, because it is so slow moving, it's actually going to be here for the next 20 years. So that's quite a big stretch of time, to say the least. And I don't want to talk too much about that because it's really not going to affect you. Just to, you know, that other video that I combine the Saturn and the Pluto transits, I cover it in more detail. And I really talk about Pluto in the third in that video too, because even though we're changing signs, it is going to go back into Capricorn after it goes into Aquarius. But in the years to come, issues concerning your childhood may really be released, like any kind of healing that needs to be done. This is the perfect transit for that. And this actually could be healing your ancestral karma, to be honest with you, because Pluto can be about karma and the fourth house can be about your ancestry. And I mean, did I say Pluto is karma? Pluto is also healing and cleansing, if you will. So that's talking about the underbelly, the underlying issues that might be passed down from generation to generation. Especially if, Pluto specializes in things that involve secrets, shame. So those kinds of taboo topics that people don't like to admit that they have had to deal with in their life or that they're currently dealing with, okay? So that can be very powerful. On the 25th, Mars goes into Cancer, and so there's another water influence here, and that's going to be your ninth house, and that's going to bring wanderlust. Mars is very physical and very anxious. I mean, eager, wanting to do something. And the ninth house can be long distance travel. Obviously, you have to have some plans in this area that you want to do this. It can be like mentally that you are just ninth house can be like university studies or teaching, and Mars here can make you very motivated or ambitious for. So that area could get very lit with activity with Mars in that ninth house. And it's also possible to be on a soapbox when Mars is in the ninth house, because if you are, this is Sag's domain, so Sag tends to be very outspoken, and the ninth house can be, especially if it's of a philosophical nature, you might be fighting with a guru or maybe a religious organization. And, it's interesting because I was thinking to myself, well, that's kind of a weird thing to say. How many people are going to be dealing with that? But the truth is, recently I was walking down the street in the city, specifically Chicago, and I walked by this religious center that I had, been to. And I noticed that, well, this was like a yoga studio, but it was associated with a religious organization, spiritual organization, more like Eastern religion than anything else. And they were not, this yoga studio had closed down, and I'm like, oh, wow, when did that happen? And I did a little bit of research, and I found out that there had been a scandal in that organization. And I knew nothing about that. I was like, gosh, how did I not know this? But I hadn't been there for a long time, so I wasn't aware that they were having this kind of situation. And that's like the second time that there has been like an organization that I have followed that where the leader had some kind of like a sex scandal. And this is like, par for the course, isn't it? And a lot of people experience this kind of thing. Either they experience it directly or they hear about it from someone else that this is going on. And it really can, for people that are overly idealistic, it can make them feel very let down, when the religion isn't living up to what they're claiming to be. But when you stop being like a follower in the sense that you're being a sheep and you're not being your own person, then you probably won't get as um you know disappointed by it, because you'll just figure that that's part of the temptation of putting yourself in that position of trying to be so perfect. um and But this might be something more minor, where you're just like clashing, you have differences of opinion with the direction that something is going in. But, I think in those cases, you would have to be pretty involved in that already. So, anyway, that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I'm promoting my double readings, which are called Deep Dive. If there's a couple of package deals that I have. One is a double astrology reading, an hour of natal chart analysis, and an hour of transits for a special price. But I also have the whole enchilada. If you like tarot, I have a full length tarot reading and either a natal chart analysis or a transits reading for a special price. And I also have standalone readings. You can find out more information at the link below. I'm at RainaMoonAstrology.com. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.